Let's read from Proverbs 18. Let's read the whole chapter. We'll eventually have another sermon from the last verse. But today, Proverbs 18. We'll read the chapter. Today's verse will be verse 9. Through desire, a man, having separated himself, seeketh and intermeddleth with all wisdom. A fool hath no delight in understanding, but that his heart may discover itself. When the wicked cometh, then cometh also contempt, and with ignominy reproach. The words of a man's mouth are as deep waters, and the wellspring of wisdom as a flowing brook. It is not good to accept the person of the wicked, to overthrow the righteous in judgment. A fool's lips enter into contention, and his mouth calleth for strokes. A fool's mouth is his destruction, and his lips are the snare of his soul. The words of a talebearer are as wounds, and they go down into the innermost parts of the belly. He also that is slothful in his work is brother to him that is a great waster. The name of the Lord is as a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it, and is safe. The rich man's wealth is his strong city, and as an high wall in his own conceit. Before destruction the heart of man is haughty, and before honor is humility. He that answereth a matter before he heareth it, it is folly and shame unto him. The spirit of a man will sustain his infirmity, but a wounded spirit who can bear? The heart of the prudent getteth knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeketh knowledge. A man's gift maketh room for him, and bringeth him before great men. He that is first in his own cause seemeth just, but his neighbor cometh and searcheth him. The lot causeth contentions to cease, and parteth between the mighty. A brother offended is harder to be won than a strong city, and their contentions are like the bars of a castle. A man's belly shall be satisfied with the fruit of his mouth, and with the increase of his lips shall he be filled. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. Whoso findeth a wife findeth a good thing, and obtaineth favor of the Lord. The poor useth entreaties, but the rich man answereth roughly. A man that hath friends must show himself friendly, and there is a friend that sticketh closer than a brother. Last week, from Proverbs 17, we were called to cultivate a merry heart. And we were warned that a broken spirit dries up the bones. It brings harm from the inside out. We now have before us a warning of another path to harm, that of slothfulness. Our text begins with this word also. He also that is slothful. And this follows up on the previous verse concerning the talebearer, perhaps because the talebearer and the slothful man are usually guilty of slothfulness, both of them. Or, if not, then at least both sins are similar in their destructive result. Sloth here is warned of under a comparison. We'll consider the man compared, then the comparison, then the man he's compared to. So first, the man compared. He also that is slothful in his work. This word slothful comes from a Hebrew verb meaning to be slack or relaxed. To let loose. A synonym is lazy, or, as used in the Proverbs, sluggard. It is the opposite of diligent and responsible. The character of the slothful man is exposed in various places in the Proverbs. We'll consider a few this morning. One we'll look at now is 26. Verse 13. The slothful man saith, there is a lion in the way. A lion is in the streets. That is to say, he makes up excuses that suit his cowardice. He won't work because of the dangers, real or imagined. Then verse 14, as the door turneth upon his hinges, so doth the slothful upon his bed. He just can't seem to get up. Just like the door, it moves back and forth, but it never comes out. 15, the slothful hideth his hand in his bosom. It grieveth him to bring it again to his mouth. He might be very close to having the success of eating food, but oh, it's just too hard to get my hand to my mouth. Verse 16, the sluggard is wiser in his own conceit than 7 men that can render a reason. That is, he thinks his excuses all make sense and that they're wise. But 7 other men of normal intelligence are much wiser than he is. So thus the slothful man. We'll consider more from the Proverbs below. That's the man that is compared. Second, the comparison. He is a brother. He is brother to him that is a great waster. Brother here is the comparison. And as you know, a brother is one that has at least one of the same parent, usually the same 2 parents. Therefore, a brother, as we can see with our eyes right before us, is similar in appearance and, often more strikingly, in character, in behavior. The brothers here know this, as does your teacher. So these men are very much alike, just as brothers are. So third, then, we see the man that he's compared to. He is brother to a man that is a great waster. This word great waster, literally in Hebrew, could be translated Lord of destruction. One who is extremely skillful at ruination. One who obviously and intentionally ruins things. This is illuminating here because it exposes the self-deceit of the slothful. He thinks he's just letting this or that small thing slip now or then. He's taking a brief rest here and there from work. And he thinks, this is unimportant. These are small things, and everything will turn out fine. And that may be so for now, but not for long. We've considered chapter 26, verse 13. Let's turn to 24, verse 30. This tells us the outcome of this sloth. I went by the field of the slothful and by the vineyard of the man void of understanding, and lo, it was all grown over with thorns, and nettles had covered the face thereof, and the stone wall thereof was broken down. Then I saw and considered it well. I looked upon it and received instruction. Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep, which is how this man rationalizes it to himself. Oh, it's just a little. So shall thy poverty come, as one that traveleth, and thy want, as an armed man. It'll be all of a sudden like destruction breaking in to your house. And so it was in the text we saw a while back from chapter 6. Do you remember the ant? Go to the ant, thou sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise. And we have a similar warning, a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come. Our text answers the slothful, who says that he is not a great waster. He says that he shows care in many parts of his life, and he may even do so, and enough so that it seems to the casual observer that he's not related to this wasteful man at all. But in fact, they are brothers. They show they belong to the same family because they're marked by the same family faults, namely, a careless, presumptuous selfishness that leads to ruin and destruction. The only difference between the slothful man and the great waster is that, unlike the great waster, who is diligent and swift in his work to destroy, the slothful man, according to his character, destroys more slothfully and slowly. But he also is a destroyer. The thrust of our text is to warn against slothfulness because of its results. That despite all of its excuses, it brings ruin, just as surely as a man that ruins on purpose. And so if you want to flee ruin and destruction, you must flee slothfulness. Our doctrine I'll put in the positive because it will open up the application for us well. It is a duty to be diligent in all affairs of life. It is a duty to be diligent in all affairs of life. And we'll consider this doctrine in general and then in specific. In general, diligence is a duty in all affairs of life. So if we turn to Ecclesiastes chapter 9, we'll see an example where this is spoken of. Ecclesiastes 9, verse 10. Whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with thy might. That is, don't be half-hearted in what you do. God has, by your particular vocation, you being children, sons, students now, given you work to do, and you need to do it diligently. 1 Corinthians 15:58. Therefore, my beloved brethren, be ye steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord. For as much as ye know that your labor is not in vain in the Lord. And we could add to that the constant exhortations Paul gives elsewhere to good works and zeal in them. For example, in Titus 2 and 3. And so, in general, the Proverbs motivate us to diligence by the opposite of wasting, that is, gain. Proverbs 10:4. He becometh poor that dealeth with a slack hand, as our text warns. But the hand of the diligent maketh rich. Diligence brings blessing as much as laziness brings trouble. So that's in general. Second, in specific, God applies this duty in the various realms of life. For example, finances. This is a small thing in your life now, but you need to be faithful while it's small. Proverbs 27, verse 23. Be thou diligent to know the state of thy flocks, and look well to thy herds, for riches are not forever. And doth the crown endure to every generation? And it goes on to speak of the rich blessings you'll have if you care for these financial matters. When it comes to food and drink, we are told that even these have much to do with how we glorify God. 1 Corinthians 10:31. Whether therefore ye eat or drink or whatsoever ye do, do all to the glory of God. Little words that we think are idle, a telling description, because idleness is the sin of the slothful man. Idle words, Christ tells us, Matthew 12:36, will all be judged on the last day. And a text that especially opens up for us this duty, one that I would love to preach at some point soon, Luke 16:10. He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. And he that is unjust in the least is unjust also in much. Christ applying the example of a crafty steward. All these least things, finances, food and drink, words, we could especially apply it spiritually to the duties we consider smaller: daily prayer, daily Bible reading, attention in sermons, careful, diligent searching of the heart, maintenance of repentance day by day. These things that men consider small, they might be small compared to other duties, but they're not small in their importance. As our text says, little failures that the slothful man excuses still can have great and evil consequences. So it is a duty to be diligent in all affairs in life. We come then to our application. And there are three things I want to lay upon you boys, as well as, by the Lord's grace, on myself. The first is to confess the sin of slothfulness. The nature of the sin is that it loves to make excuses. And boys, your excuses stink. They stink before God. They often stink before your teacher and your parents, too. You say to yourself, well, it's just a little sleep. It's just a little mistake, a little oversight. No, our text says it is the opening of the door to great destruction. Imagine that the sin of slothfulness is like a great and powerful enemy outside the walls of your city. He has many men, and they are all of them clamoring at the gates, trying to claw their way in, trying to put up ladders and siege mounds and scale the walls of your city. And if you are not very careful to keep those doors fast shut and to throw the ladders off the walls and to kill the men that try to come across, then all of a sudden you will have the enemy within your camp. Imagine that you open the door just a crack. You know that all of a sudden a hand or a spear would be thrust through, and the doors will be pushed open, and the whole horde of enemies would rush into the city. That's what our text is warning you about. A little compromise, a little lack of diligence, a little destruction, not repented of, will ruin you. So confess it now. Confess little sins in this respect as great, as weighty. Confess when you make small failures that they will not stay small for long, but that you have allowed in principle your own ruin and that of others. And mourn your failures before God. Confess your slothfulness. The second application follows on this one. Having confessed it, you must forsake it. You have by nature many tendencies to be a destroyer, to be a waster. You must destroy these tendencies. You must waste them till they are no more. You must take this besetting family sin by which you are like your brother, the great waster. You must disown him. You must disown your sinful parents, so to speak. You must declare yourself no longer belonging to the family of destroyers. Now instead, you are, by grace, a diligent Christian son of an all-powerful, all-wise, ever-working God who never fails in even the very least of his duties and his promises. As a motive to stir you up to destroy the sin, As our text says, if you will not destroy it, it will destroy you. Especially while you're young, the weeds of this sin are small. This is a mercy because smaller weeds are easier to pluck out of the ground. Many adults, if you will hear them, would testify to you with tears that the weeds grown from this sin are much harder to pull out when they've grown larger and thicker and with bigger roots in their old age. But whether for you or for them, if they are not pulled out, then as many adults have experienced with much sorrow, ruin, hardship, and poverty will follow you wherever you go. So forsake the sin of slothfulness. Third and finally, be faithful. Even, and in a certain sense, especially Luke 16:10, in that which is least. In the small things of life, show great diligence. Now, this is something you have opportunity to apply right now, even today, because your school day is full of such little things. For example, maintaining your Bible log, doing your daily flashcards, keeping track of your Latin book, your pencils, your pedometer, taking care not to add when your math book says subtract, getting the exact words of your catechism exactly right, knowing when to say an act wherein, an act whereby, or the work whereby. This is not just about the Bible or Latin or PE or math or catechism. This, my boys, is about your character, and it's about your future. Right now, today in school is being determined whether you will grow up to be a faithful, useful man of God, or whether you will be a brother to him that is a great waster. Let's stand and pray.